What happens when three African leaders walk into a tomb not for power, but for remembrance? In this story, we're diving into a powerful moment in African history, a tribute to a fallen hero, a message to the future, and a legacy that still speaks loud today.
Il faudrait que partout en Afrique, cet effort mémoriel, qui n'a rien à voir avec une quelconque forme de rancœur, mais ce devoir mémoriel se fasse pour que jamais plus l'histoire ne se répète. Et c'est pourquoi je suis très ému d'être là.
For the first time ever, three heads of government stepped into one sacred place. Juni Manuel, Ousmane Sonko, Alamel Alina. They weren't there for politics. They were there to honor a man many call Africa's Che Guevara, Thomas Sankara. They stood silently at his tomb, their heads bowed. You could feel the weight in the air. Sankara wasn't just a president. He was a symbol of courage, of change, of Pan-African unity. He wanted to make Africa proud of itself. And for that, he paid the ultimate price. But what really happened to Sankara? And why is his memory still so powerful today? Hold on, we'll get to that. Let's rewind. Sankara ruled Burkina Faso from 1983 to 1987. He was just 37 when he was assassinated. The place where he died, it's now the site of his new mausoleum, designed by Francis Kurtha, first African to win the Pritzker Prize in Architecture. A powerful tribute, built exactly where Sankara fell. But this isn't just about one building. It's about memory and the duty to remember. One of the leaders at the event said something that hit hard. This has nothing to do with revenge. It's about making sure history never repeats itself. Streets in the capital, Ouagadougou, now carry the names of Sankara's 12 companions, killed with him on that tragic day in 1987. And that mausoleum, it's just the start. There are 14 more major projects planned, a whole movement to keep Sankara's message alive. But here's the twist. The man behind Sankara's death blaze took power right after the coup. He ruled Burkina Faso for 27 years. In 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison for the assassination. But he never served a day. Why? Because he lives in exile, in Côte d'Ivoire. And yet, even without justice fully served, Sankara's legacy is rising again. Stronger, louder. The current military junta in Burkina Faso says they follow in his footsteps. But the real question is, can they live up to the ideals he died for? What do you think? Is Sankara's dream still alive today? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications right here on Noble Black News channel. In our next video, we'll uncover the untold story of Sankara's final hours. What really happened before the bullets were fired? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. They tried to erase him, but now, he's more alive than ever. Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso, finally has a place where his legacy can live forever. It's May 17, 2025. A day of remembrance, a day of history. For the first time, a grand mausoleum is unveiled in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. It now holds the remains of Thomas Sankara and 12 of his comradesmen, who were assassinated in 1987 during a violent coup. The place where he fell, the Conseil de l'Entente, is now the very ground where this memorial stands. Built in his honor, made to last forever. Leaders from across Africa came to pay tribute. Ousmane Sonko from Senegal, Helena from Chad, Jean Emmanuel of Burkina Faso. Together, they cut the ribbon. They laid the first flowers. They didn't just come as politicians, they came as sons of the same dream. Thomas Sankara wasn't just a president. He was a visionary, a man who believed Africa could rise on its own terms. He talked about dignity. He fought for freedom, sovereignty, and self-reliance. He lived simply, led boldly, and died young, just 37 years old. His enemies tried to silence him. But today, his voice echoes louder than ever. May 17 wasn't chosen by accident. Back in 1983, this very date marked the beginning of a plan to crush Sankara's revolution. But instead, it sparked the fire. It led to the August 1983 uprising that brought him to power. Movement born from anti-imperialist protests and hope for a new Africa. Now, decades later, the same date is being reclaimed. Not with bullets, but with flowers, with memory, with pride. For years, Sankara and his comrades were buried in secret, rushed into the ground without dignity, without justice. But the people never forgot. Today's leaders, especially the younger generation, say they will not repeat the silence of the past. They are building, remembering, and telling the truth out loud. Prime Minister Sonko, standing at the memorial, said it best. This is not just a monument. It's a message, a duty of memory. We must stop forgetting our heroes. Our biggest problem in Africa is our failure to remember. The moment became even more powerful when visitors walked through Sankara's last steps. They saw the office where he was ambushed, the very spot where he fell, his fist still raised in resistance. People cried. Some stood in silence. Others whispered prayers. It wasn't just a visit. It was a spiritual journey. Sonko looked out at the crowd and gave a message to this generation. The story of our revolution was interrupted, but now, it's our duty to continue it. To finish what Sankara started, and this time, succeed. The new memorial isn't just made of concrete and stone. It's built from Sankara's vision. Simple, humble, African. It stands for every dreamer, every fighter, every soul who believes Africa can be free and strong. Thomas Sankara is gone, but he's also more present than ever. In our hearts, in our history, and now in the earth of Burkina Faso, where a monument reminds us, never again will our heroes be forgotten. What does Thomas Sankara mean to you? Have we done enough to honor our African heroes? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. Only on Noble Black News Channel, where real African history lives.
On this May 17th, we fulfill a duty of remembrance through the inauguration of the mausoleum dedicated to President Noel Isidore Thomas Sankara and his fellow fighters who fell for our beloved homeland, struck down by the murderous bullets of local lackeys of imperialism and the so-called Salon Negroes, who fell for the ideals of dignity, freedom, integrity, and sovereignty, fallen yet forever alive in our hearts and in our consciences. The choice of this date is therefore not a matter of chance. The August 1983 revolution was fueled by the popular anti-imperialist demonstrations that erupted following the May 17, 1983 plot, which was designed to stem the rising tide of progressive and revolutionary forces in order to perpetuate the oppression and imperialist domination of our people.
Thomas Sankara and his companions were hastily buried on that tragic day of October 15, 1987. Dedicating a mausoleum worthy of his name has always been the struggle of his countless heirs. Today, it has finally been accomplished. History will remember that Prime Ministers Ousmane Sonko of Senegal, Halina of Chad, and Jean-Emmanuel Metrago cut the ribbon at the inauguration and were the first to lay flowers on his new grave, a highly symbolic gesture for the devoted followers of the famous captain.
We have just experienced an extremely powerful moment, one of those moments that leaves an indelible mark on the history of peoples, and in this case, on the history of African peoples. I would like to thank my counterpart, His Excellency, Prime Minister Jean-Emmanuel, for including me in this event, for allowing me through his invitation to witness this powerful moment that has once again, if it were even necessary, honored one of the greatest sons of this continent, Captain Thomas Isidore Sankara. This is a powerful moment that beyond the act itself reminds us of our duty to remember. One of our greatest problems on this continent is our inability to keep our memories alive, both individually and collectively.
There were many moving moments. On May 17, 2025, the day of the rehabilitation of a Pan-African hero, the coming together with families, the visit to the office where the shots took him by surprise, and the fateful spot where President Sankara fell, fist raised.
I am very moved to be here, to have witnessed the reenactment of what happened and how history was brought to a halt. History, a revolution, history, a sovereignist conquest. The story of a patriotic struggle was brought to a halt. And today, our generation, like so many others across Africa, has the duty to take it up again, to revive it, but above all, to succeed this time. So I thank the Prime Minister, I thank His Excellency, the President of Faso, for the welcome, for listening, and for the trust.
A defender of a free and sovereign Africa, Thomas Sankara won the hearts of his fellow citizens with his progressive ideas and his Pan-African commitment. The current Burkinabe authorities have designed this memorial in his image, popular and Pan-African.